Hey everyone, Jonathan Cosman here with JC93 Hockey. I wanted to do a quick presentation on what Team Utah is. So, if you've seen some of our posts, we've been posting about a Team Utah ID camp. We do have several people signed up that seem to have a grasp on what it is, but I have started to get a little bit of feedback on some parents and players not quite sure what Team Utah is. And so I wanted to give just a brief overview of that. So Team Utah is going to be completely separate from everything else that we've done for spring and summer for JC93. We do Wasatch Fire, which is a AAA team that will go to tournaments that you typically have to fly to. We'll go to Chicago. We plan to go up to Canada. And then JC93 Prospects is a 6 week window where we play three tournaments. They're all AA, TCS type tournaments, one in Salt Lake, um, one in Lake Tahoe, and one in Denver. And Team Utah is completely separate from that. You do not have to participate in any of our other spring programs. For Team Utah, we are simply looking for the best players in Utah to come together by birth year for one team going to one big tournament. We may do a prep tournament together and we will practice together beforehand. And so this does not replace anything we've done in the past, doesn't replace Wasatch Fire, doesn't replace JC93 prospects. It is completely separate. So the goal with this is to show the importance of having one team, like a Utah All-Star team that can go and compete at the highest level, um, and not feel like they have to join some other team all the time. I think it is good for players from Utah to go and join up with players from other states on all-star teams, but I think it's also good being from Utah to be able to represent your state and prove that there are good players in Utah playing on Utah teams. I hear a lot the we aren't good enough, we can't compete. I would never expect Utah, at least in this current state, to be a top 10 team or a top 15 or even top 20 team. Um, but being able to compete at the highest level and have some good games against top 40 or 50 competition in the States, I think is certainly something that we can attain. And this is something that I want to try to pursue um, this coming summer. So I wanted to compare it. I've talked to a few people about this, and I wanted to compare it to the World Junior Championships. So for anybody that follows the World Junior Championships, um, as a kid, it growing up in Canada, it was on TSN, which is one of the biggest sports channels in Canada. It was crazy. The country almost shut down. Here in the States, there's less coverage. You can get it on NHL Network, and some of you may pay or subscribe to NHL Network and watch it. But I would say most have a good idea. So teams like Canada, USA, Finland, Sweden, and Russia, when they were allowed to participate, would be kind of your top five teams every year. And then Czechia has started to become really competitive. Slovakia can give some good games. Switzerland at times, Germany. And then you always have, the bottom two teams in the tournament. We've seen Kazakhstan there. Switzerland has fallen to the bottom before, Latvia, Denmark. These are all teams that struggle to have good games against those top four teams. At times with Canada and US, I mean, they're blowing these teams out by 10 or 12 goals. But you have seen in the past, players from these teams that end up being first round and even top 3 to 5 draft picks. If you look here at this list, Leon Draisaitl, Tim Stützle, Nico Hischier, Nikolai Ehlers, Timo Meyer, and Anze Kopitar, who's from Slovenia, didn't even qualify for the World Juniors and went and played for Slovenia in the B division of the World Juniors, or I think they might call it U20 D1. Um, but they go there and they make a name for themselves representing their country at the highest level, playing against multiple players that are of their similar skill level and trying to pull their country up with them. And so that's where I see Team Utah being able to in some ways compare to this is no, we're not going to go there and, play a strong game against a team from Massachusetts who has 15 bona fide AAA players. Michigan, Minnesota, a lot of those teams back east will be significantly stronger than us. Um, but the whole goal with this is to go out there, take pride in representing your state and representing it as a group and seeing what each individual can prove at a national level against some of these better teams. So the financials, um, JC93 Hockey is a for-profit business. I run this business full time. I don't lie to anybody. It is, my job to make money and provide for my family. But at the same time, you know, we want this to be something, this is kind of like our give back, something we want to see the state succeed in. Um, and so we're going to do everything in our power to line up fundraisers for each family to be able to use these fundraising opportunities to subsidize most or all of the costs so that there isn't a player from the state of Utah that is good enough to be on this team that won't be able to play because of cost. We want to make sure that every single best player can go and represent in this tournament. Um, and we can truly have the best team, not just the team of players who are willing to pay the money. So the events that we're going to do, we'll have 10 practices between May to July. These will be scattered between Ogden, Salt Lake, and Provo. Um, we want to kind of move that around so that the players from Provo that are on the team have some practices close to them. The ones from Ogden have practices close to them. And those that live in the Salt Lake area will have practices at some of the rinks in Salt Lake. We're hoping to host a prep tournament in June. We're trying to work with some neighboring states to come and bring some teams to play against us before we go and play some of those bigger teams back east. And then the big event is the USA Hockey Challenge Cup, July 11th to 13th in Columbus, Ohio. It's hosted by Battery Hockey Academy. So at our ID camp, we put a lot of work into this happening. Um, there's some people who really stepped up that helped make this happen. And Liam O'Brien, so you might know him as Spicy Tuna from the big introduction speech when when the Utah NHL was announced early on, and they came and spoke at the Delta Center. He plays for Utah Hockey Club. He has been really good about getting out in the community. He's done a few different things, and he's agreed to come and do a meet and greet at the Team Utah ID skate and sign autographs at the conclusion of the event next Saturday, December 21st in Ogden. And so we're we're really excited about the possibility of putting this together. It does take a lot of work. It takes a lot of commitment from us. It takes a lot of commitment from parents. It takes a lot of trust. And we really feel like this could benefit our state and the state of hockey in Utah long term if we can get all the best players to every year try out for a Team Utah. This might end up becoming something in season, not something that I'm planning to do in season, but it might be something that somebody hopefully can take over in season and get all the best players together and go out and compete against top competition at each age group. And so thanks for taking the time to listen. If you have any other questions, again, please feel free to reach out to us, send us an email, and we're happy to answer any of those questions.